Sandra Pupatello heads into this weekend's Ontario Liberal Leadership Convention with the greatest number of publicly committed delegates. She's been the Minister of Education, Community and Social Services, Economic Development and Trade, and Women's Issues. But the job she now wants is Premier, and let's find out why. Here she is, Sandra Pupatello, the former MPP for the riding of Windsor West. Welcome to TVO.
Thank you. It's great to have a whole Windsor day for TVO today.
Yeah, I know. I've got to ask them about that. The CEOs.
It's so impressive.
Two of the hospital CEOs coming after you are from Windsor.
The best in the country.
We'll find out.
Okay.
We'll find that out. I've asked the six of you the same first question off the top. So here we go, okay? What particular skill set do you offer that would make you the best choice of the six to become Premier at this particular moment in Ontario's history?
I've been very clear about the only reason that I'm in the race, and that is because our government's had a really tough year. I haven't been in the government this last year and a half. I didn't run the last election. And watching as an outsider gave me a very good perspective on, well, a couple of things. The role of the Ontario government. Apparently, we're not the center of the universe after all. It is interesting to be on the outside and realize that Queen's Park needs to talk about the same things we talk about outside. And I want to be the one that's going to change the conversation to jobs and the economy. I actually believe that is the #1 issue for Canada, for Ontario, and for every region that I've traveled since I've entered this race.
You know that drives your colleagues crazy when you say, I want to change the conversation to jobs in the economy, because of course they think they've been talking about that for the last 9 years.
Right, and I guess that's the advantage of having been the Minister of Industry. I feel that if I win this leadership and I become the Premier by, very short order, it is going to be about jobs in the economy across the entire government, not just me as Minister. And even though they might be saying it, the people on the outside weren't hearing it. And that's because we've got to engage. First, we have a minority government. We need to engage two other parties in our conversation about jobs in the economy. They've been, in the meantime, traveling all over. They hear the same things we do. So I am certain that I will find common ground when we talk about jobs and the economy. Not the kinds of things, frankly, that we've been hearing this last year and a half that have been really problematic, and we've got to change that. We've got a really tight fiscal schedule that we've got to keep. We've got a big debt, big deficit. We've got to worry about that. And one of those ways to do it is get people working so we have the resources to be a truly centrist government. That's my goal.
You and Kathleen Wynne obviously are 1A, 1-2, however you want to count it. You two are in the top tier in the net. What makes you, in your view, a better candidate for the leadership than her?
Well, right now, and I actually believe that everyone is a great leader. You just have to be the leader for that right time. And I've been involved in politics since I was a kid, literally, going over decades. And I've watched many, many people who it just wasn't the right time that people were ready for that kind of style or that kind of approach. I'm hoping that right now people are ready for this. That is an Italian-Canadian woman from Windsor who is pretty plain-spoken, who wants to be upfront about what the challenges are in our government. And I was like that as an MPP for 16 years. It worked for me back home. And I actually think when we are in a tough challenge right now, you want someone who's experienced that. And when people hear where I come from, they know we've been through tough times, we come out stronger. My party needs that right now. So I think my kind of history or my kind of experience may be what we need right now. Frankly, in 2003, I think the public wanted Dalton McGuinty and his style. We wanted calm. We wanted all of that sort of upheaval that the Harris-Eves government brought. We wanted stability. We wanted that. And that's why I say the right leadership for the right time. And I'm certain about this, having watched politics a long time. When you run is as important as who you are.
Yeah, sure, timing's important.
Right.
So what is it about Kathleen Wynne's either policies, makeup, personality, what she offers that you think is not exactly right for the time?
And to be honest, when I look at am I the right one, it isn't about the balance of the candidates running. It's Sandra Pupatello versus Andrea Horwath and Tim Hudak. Because that, frankly, is what the public is going to see. Those are the three leaders, and they'll have to pick. Which one of those is speaking my language?
Okay, but you're not there yet. You still got to get past Wynne.
But I will be. If I win this leadership, I will be in the House. I'll be answering questions, accountable to the public, and people are going to hear the NDP message. they'll hear the conservative message, and then they're going to hear me. And I want to go back to them and say, I will earn your trust again with your taxpayers' money.
Well, hang on, you just said something that's not, at least I don't think it's quite accurate. You said, I'll be in the House.
Yeah.
You actually won't be in the House.
Well, I will be very quickly. And as I said from the beginning, I intend to run and win a seat right away. And then I hope we're going to get right back at being in that spring session, which typically for the last probably 50 years has always started that third week of March. Just so we know, that's been our history. And we probably, this spring session, will have more sessional days than we've ever had. So I actually believe having a leader in the House is critical, and I want to be that for the public.
So the House doesn't come back until you win a by-election and would be in the House.
Right, but don't forget, Mike Harris also shortened up the campaign period, so that by-election is only 30 days long. So it's not putting us out very much from, frankly, what we're expecting anyway.
What seat would you be running in?
Well, as we know, the Minister of Finance has offered up his seat,
so would you
and I'm
run
very
there?
Grateful. Yeah, and I'm not saying with certainty anything at this point because my focus is the leadership, and I have to win this coming weekend.
Okay, let me put some numbers up here. I'm sure you know these numbers. This is what you used to represent Windsor West, which you used to win hands down with huge numbers, if I recall. Windsor-Tecumseh, which is where Dwight Duncan sits right now, hasn't been quite as friendly to the Liberals. And just look at these numbers here. In 2003, he won with 55% of the vote. In 2007, he won with 50% of the vote. In 2011, he won with 43% of the vote. If that kind of trajectory continues, if you were to run there in a by-election, you wouldn't win. Are you concerned about that?
Well, I've got to tell you, if I choose to run in a by-election, I'm going to run in a riding that I think I can win. For me running for leader, I'm running because I think I can win. And I have to tell you that Dwight's winning record hasn't been beat. And quite frankly, I wish every MPP in the House won at that 43% level, because that is better than many of them, if not most of them. So if we look at the real numbers, 43% with two other parties or more is actually very good. And remember, Bob Rae won a complete government across the province with 37% of the vote. So let's be clear on voting. When you have three significant parties, not two like our American friends, 43% is still winning handily.
43 is down 7 from the previous election, though. I mean, if you were to lose 7 points off Dwight's...
You know what I recognize? The longer you're in politics, you collect one thing.
Barnacles.
Baggage.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure, for sure. And you're never going to make everyone happy. And let's be honest, it's been a tough year this year. We've had a big deficit. People aren't used to that with the Ontario Liberal Party. When we became a government in 2003, we inherited a $6 billion deficit. Thankfully,
5.6.
Whatever, $6 billion. Let's not split hairs. The point being, we had to get rid of that, which we did, and by the third budget, we were balanced. Thank goodness. We needed that fiscal room, so frankly, we could debt finance massive infrastructure during the recession.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
But it comes at a cost.
You're at $14.4 billion now for deficit. Would you raise taxes to try to lower that deficit?
No.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't. And I actually think that maybe we're going to do better because I know that the projections in terms of how we're doing as an economy every quarter is moving, and we're getting a little bit of uptick. And I'm hoping that it's going to be positive. But I have said our corporate taxes are high enough, are low enough. Our personal taxes, high enough and low enough. I think they're in the right spot. I don't want to go there, and I don't want the public to see instability. I actually believe that for the economy, we need stable tax policy. And every time you get into an election or into coalitions, the first thing that suffers is the economy. Business does not like instability. They want to know exactly what's coming. So when Hudak is out there saying that he's not prepared to work with whichever one of us wins, I think that's a real detriment. I also think that when any one of us is talking about an NDP coalition, bad for the economy.
Who's talking about that?
Well, apparently no one now, but last week it was certainly all the talk about, who's going to want to... What the public and the business people need to see is calm, stable policies. And that's what I want to deliver.
Okay. Can I ask you about you here?
Sure.
Here's what I hear. You know, I'm out there, I go to speeches, I talk to people, I see stuff, and here's what I hear them say about you. Man, is she a good campaigner. She walks into a room, she lights it up, she is impressive, she's a great speaker, she points to people in the audience, she's not a slave to her text, she really talks the speech as opposed to, reads it off the page. However, I also hear, boy, she can be aggressive, and she can be tough in not necessarily a good way. And I wonder if you would speak to those who worry that you are too, everything's obviously in contrast too. Are you too aggressive compared to people who've traditionally had this job?
I'm going to guess and say that the people who told you the first thing didn't tell you the second, number one. And it's in their best interest to suggest either one of them, right? So to be fair, let me give you an example that I had a big speech just recently. And in that audience of, I will call it the Toronto blue chip crowd, and right in the middle of it, at my guest table was Buzz Hargrove sitting with me as a guest. And in the audience with his whole table was Ken Lowenza from the CAW. And I'm going to just acknowledge that my history has been to work with everyone to find a solution. And after that speech was over, Ken Lowenza went and grabbed that microphone. I panicked because you just don't know what he's going to do, honestly. And he said, I support her. I believe what she says because I lived it. And he said, when I was first elected, and he knew me then, he knew me before I was elected, I'm that same person. I acknowledge that I'm very upfront with people, but I actually believe it's what they want right now. That's why I said, maybe I wouldn't have been the right one in 2003. It needed to be Dalton McGuinty. But right now, there's a sense that they don't know what's coming out next. We've had some big issues at Queen's Park that people feel like we're not telling them the story. And all I'm saying is, in Windsor for 16 years, what worked was me just being me, being upfront with people, trying to be honest, trying to be upfront about the challenge, and then actually bringing them in to help. So during the height of the recession, when I had to work with Buzz Hargrove, Ken Lowenza, in the most troubling of our economic times, they worked with us. So in my speech to the blue chip crowd, I said, no, it's not one and two, it's three. It's labor, business, and government. The three of us, we can make it happen. And that's been my history, and I was grateful that they were there to help.
But are you the person, one of the things I hear is that, and you said it yourself in this interview, whoever leads the Liberal Party next has got to reach across the floor and get at least one of the other two parties to sign on to whatever you want to negotiate, or else the government's dead.
Right.
I don't hear many people saying, boy, Sandra Pupatello is really the candidate who's the make us all feel good, come together, unifying, sing Kumbaya around the fireplace kind of person. She is the attack dog because she had all those years in opposition where she sharpened her teeth.
Well, you know what I do have that's really important right now? 8 years in opposition. And you know what that does? It teaches you why a government should respect the opposition. So if anybody's going to be the leader right now, you want someone who understands that the people over there actually have good ideas, and you need to incorporate them. So,
and you would.
Unlike, I had lots of ideas when I was in opposition, and you know what? To Harris's credit, he even took some, and I appreciated that. But when you're in a minority house, you have to, because the public brought us this house, and we had better use it. Unlike Harper, if you recall the federal minority government, everyone said he governed like he had a majority, and he did. But the difference was their opposition parties were completely in disarray and couldn't mount an effective campaign against them. That is not the case in Ontario. Two opposition parties, they've been there for 8 years, they're very organized, they're very strong, and the government has to work with them. And I actually believe that I hope is going to be the tone that I can bring that will be different. That the last year we've operated as if we're a majority without the levers of a majority government. We actually need the minority, we need all of these parties to come together. And there isn't one, in my view, political party that could stand up today and say, we won't work with her, she's talking about jobs in the economy. So I'm going to ask them, how can you help? What can you bring to the table? Who would refuse that? They need to do that because we all talk to the same people.
But again, unless people are telling me wrong, what people seem to be saying to me is, if you're looking for a coming together candidate, you probably want the person who took conflict resolution at Harvard, which is Kathleen Wynne, as opposed to you, who's more of a, if I can put it this way, brass knuckles, Windsor, Ontario, tough-headed politician.
You know what? I'm gonna just listen to Ken Lowenza and Buzz Hargrove and ask, why would they support me? They're as tough as it gets when it comes to the CAW and bargaining. They've got a great history and success on their side. Why would they support me unless they believe that we're all in it for the right reasons and that I can do this job? They've got a lot at stake here in our election, and I know they're watching very carefully, and they would never say that lightly. So I'm going to leave it to others to have to decide.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, 16 years of experience in government and in opposition is exactly what you need to have right now.
Let me see if I can suss you out on this. Sandra Pupatello, are you back come hell or high water?
Well, I sure hope so. I'm back, and I've said that everywhere I go.
But if you don't win, are you running in the next election anyway?
Well, what I have said is I'm going to leave it to my Liberal Party to decide how they could make best use of me, because I hope that they will want to, but our nomination process is such that if I run in a by-election, the leader's going to call it. I'm going to sort of pick where I might run, right? If I'm not the leader, I don't have the same levers to say, oh, I think I'll just go run, because there isn't a seat available right now. There would be if you're the leader, a little tougher if you're not. So I need to leave it to my party to participate in that decision on what else are you going to do with Sandra. I will tell you, I'm in this to win. I'm in this to win, not just in this short term as leader, to extend this term as long as possible, to bring in a throne speech, a budget. In the first couple of months, people are going to take this intake of breath. Wow, this is a different government. And they need to see that right now. I hear that. I've been hearing that on the outside for a while, Steve. So I intend to do that. Okay. And I actually believe that once we get on that road, the two opposition parties are not going to want an election. But I'll tell you, the way Hudak's been talking lately, if he sends us out there unwillingly, I'm going to take him on. I'm going to go after red Tory votes. I'm going after the NDP vote. The NDP wants someone to fight for them, and I will. They know I will. People like Ken Lowenza will tell them that I will. And red Tories, I know now what they're saying to me. They're helping me in my leadership. So I know that they believe that we can do this, and I believe it too.
Are you champing at the bits to go to the polls, though?
I don't. Actually, what I am chomping at the bit is to bring in a cabinet that people are going to say, wow, these are the priorities that we need to see. Accountability measures that we've not seen for a while, I want to bring those into government. The things that I learned while I was out of government and the perspective, I want to bring that into the cabinet table as well. I'm excited about it. I actually believe that if we talk about jobs in the economy, no other two parties will want an election, and I certainly am not planning to go into one.
But again, maybe help clarify for the record here. The assumption about you is that you're going to win, you're going to get in there, you're going to see some, as inevitably happens, a bit of a honeymoon period, the poll numbers go up, and you want to take advantage of that and go to the polls as quickly as possible.
What I would like to do, if I get the benefit of that, is run successive budget after successive budget, taking care of the deficit and having serious job creation activity with the business sector. That to me is the priority. I actually believe that jobs in the economy are the number one issue. Not elections, not fighting, not watching MPPs do chest bumps in the aisleways in the chamber. They want serious work coming out of Queen's Park, and I'm going to bring that to them.
Tell us about what's going on, to the extent that you can, behind the scenes right now. I know that there were some jokes among some of the leadership candidates that, this one's having that one over for dinner, and this one's making a risotto for that one for dinner, and this kind of thing. Have you been having anybody over for dinner?
I haven't. I've gone out for dinner. Out for coffee, out for dinner. I'm
with
going
the other
out
candidates?
For lunch. Absolutely. But you have to remember, these are people that I've known for a long time. They all came in after me. I worked on virtually all of their campaigns. If they came in a by-election, I went canvassing for them. Some of them were my parliamentary assistants. I've been around a long time and I know all of them well.
Do you have undertakings from any of them right now that they're coming to you on subsequent ballots?
Nobody is saying with any certainty, and I have to say that we don't know how this goes. None of us is walking in with 50 plus 1% of the vote, right? So knowing that, you can't even just have one to win. You need several, right? Whoever's going to win needs several of the others to hit that 50 plus 1%. So all of them are having that conversation. Here's what I'm asking people. What do you want to do as a government? If I win, what do you want to do? Because I actually think that's important. I think everyone should, A, get to do what they want in a business that really is a lot of work. So if you're going to be in this business, let's get you doing what you want to do. And if you come with me because I'm going to be the leader, is there going to be a kind of synergy between us that we can work together? And I have to say, I've worked with all of them already. I can feel it. I feel like we will be a fantastic team. They're smart, they're competent. And can I just say, Steve, there is no comparison between the bench in the Ontario Liberal Party and the bench in the other two parties. So if you try to look past the leader, who in the other parties would be the cabinet? You can't finger enough that would. The Ontario Liberal Party has depth, we've got experience. We really are the party that will be the best for the economy, for jobs, and for doing the things that centrist people want in a Liberal government. I'm just delighted at the opportunity that it's gone this well, that I might win, and just have a hand at crafting that kind of a group to keep doing that.
Sandra Pupatello, as I say to all the candidates, thanks for coming in. Good luck at the convention this weekend.
And I'm going to see you there.
Yes, you sure will.
Excellent.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks.
That's Liberal leadership candidate Sandra Pupatello.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.